Good morning, Pafade, Leso Mamay, Faisho. Welcome to your House chamber. Welcome to this House session. To all those in the viewing public on social media and on cable, all of you in the gallery, and those watching in whatever media platform is available. Welcome to your House chamber. I now call this second day, first regular session to order. Please let us all rise for a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. With that, we'll proceed to item number 1, the roll call, and I recognize the clerk to please call the roll.
Representative Bata?
Present.
Representative Faldan?
Here.
Representative Aquino?
Present.
Representative Fathel?
Present.
Representative Benavente?
Very good.
Representative Angelo Camozzo?
Present.
Representative Diego Camozzo?
Present.
Representative Joel Camozzo?
Ready?
Representative Joseph Flores?
Present.
Representative Marissa Flores?
Present.
Representative Maglonia? Representative Bobo?
Present.
Representative Omar?
Thank you.
Representative Palacios?
Yeah.
Representative Rangamar? Representative Sablan? Representative Nicolas?
Present.
Mr.
Present.
Representative Yanktamay?
Nani.
Representative Yumo?
Present.
Mr. Speaker, 17 members are present and 3 members are absent.
Thank you, clerk. With 17 members present, board, let the record reflect. Let Representatives Thomas John Maglonia, Don Paul Sablan, and Elias Ever hereby excused for today's session. Clerk, and with that, we now move down to item number 2, public comments. The podium is open to receive comments. Please state your name. 5 minutes. In addition, if you have prepared statements that you would like to submit, hand them over to the Sergeant at Arms and we will submit.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker and honorable members of the House of Representatives. We are honored to be here today for your discussions on items on the agenda. I am Sonia Camacho. I am the Director of Courts for the country. And joining me today is our General Counsel, Hyun J. Lee, and our Budget and Finance Director, John T. Villagomez. And we are here to assist in any way if you need additional information regarding House Bill 24-6. We are here on behalf of Chief Justice Alexandro C. Castro and Presiding Judge Roberto Sino Raja and the members. Thank you very much.
Podium still open for public comments. We'll proceed to item number 3, the adoption of journals, and I recognize the
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under item 3, we have 1 first day, first regular session journal dated January 13, 2025.
Thank you, clerk. I'd now like to recognize the floor leader for the motion to adopt the journal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I move for the adoption of the first day, first regular session journal dated January 13, 2025. So moved.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made for the adoption of the journal and has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? All in favor to adopt the journal, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The journal is hereby adopted. Thank you, colleagues. Nothing further under adoption of journals. We now move down to item number 4, introduction of bills. And I'd now like to recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I'd like to formally introduce House Bill number 24-1 to amend provisions in Title 6, Chapter 3, Sexual Offenses, Article 1. General provisions relating to sexual abuse and assault of minors, pre-filed by myself. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader, and House Bill 24-1 will be referred to the Committee on JGO.
Speaker. Now introducing House Bill number 20, establish a process for the delivery of State of the Commonwealth address of myself and several others. And this bill was originally passed in the 23rd.
Representative Yumo, your House Bill 24-2 will be referred.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. I'd like to introduce House Bill number 24-3 to eliminate the 10% distribution to the Commonwealth to the corporation and redistribute those funds equally between the Bureau of Motor Vehicle and the Department of Public Works to enhance their operational capacities and for other purposes. Introduced by myself.
Representative HoR. House Bill 24-3 is hereby referred. Next, I'd like to recognize Representative.
Thank you, Speaker. I would like to officially introduce House Bill number 24-4 to amend the Investment Incentive Act of 2000 by refining eligibility criteria for qualifying certificates, strengthening procedural safeguards, mandating detailed reporting on investment and performance, and enhancing oversight mechanism. Just note, this bill was actually introduced and passed 23rd, pre-filed by myself, and I welcome others to co-sponsor it.
Thank you, Representative HoR. Hereby referred to the committee. I'd like to recognize Representative Joseph Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is officially introduce House Bill number 24-5 is to establish provision for jaywalking and for other purposes prepared by myself, and I welcome others too.
Thank you, Representative Joe Flores. House Bill 24-5 is hereby referred to the Committee on JGO. I'd now like to recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 24-6 to amend the appropriations and budget authority to appropriate the balance of funds allocated for the minimum annual payment to the settlement fund and to
Thank you, Representative Fato, and with that, I recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I move to suspend Rule 9, Section 8, and place House Bill number 24-6 to amend the Appropriations and Budget Authority Act of Fiscal Year 2025, Public Law 23-26, to appropriate the balance of funds allocated for the minimum annual payments to the settlement fund and to return government employees subject to austerity to 100% work hours and for other purposes on today's bill calendar. So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Floor Leader. A motion has been made for House Bill 24-6 on today's bill calendar. Any discussions?
Ready?
Ready? Okay. All in favor for the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you, colleagues. With nothing further under introduction of bills, we now move down to item B, introduction of House local bills, and I recognize Patrick San Nicolas.
Thank you, this is to officially do $54-1. It's to appropriate $11,877 for the operation of Air of Tinan and pursuant to NMCL subsection 14.
Representative San Nicolas. With nothing further under introduction. Item number 5, introduction of resolutions, and chairperson of the ad hoc committee. right, thank you for that, colleagues. We'll rise back to session. Before we went on recess, we just entered item number 5, introduction of resolutions, and with that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I'd like to formally introduce House Resolution number 24-2, amend the House of Representatives Rules of Procedure that were adopted to House Resolution 24-1, pre-filed by the Ad Hoc Committee on Rules. So moved.
Thank you for the introduction, floor leader. House Resolution 24-2 will be placed on the resolution calendar for action. However, rule the House resolution would need one legislative day before we act. All right, next on the resolution list.
Resolution 24-3, expressing profound gratitude to Paul Atali Mondonia, his wife Lydia Manibusan, and their children Diana, Paul Jr., Dan, Pauline, the late Marla, and Amelia, for unselfishly sharing their husband and father with the wealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, and extending best wishes to him and his
Sure, there's no objection.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Representative Ogo. With no House Resolution 24- is hereby I'd like to recognize the floor leader.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to formally introduce House Resolution 24-4, objecting to the acquittal of Shane Blanco Villanueva on charges of legislative contempt, urging the CNMI Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney to investigate and prosecute any and all CNMI and federal crimes related to the BOOST program, condemning the demonstrated bias against CNMI Assistant Attorney General James Kingman, denouncing the denial of the due process with respect to the Commonwealth's ability to effectively prosecute its case, and urging the judiciary and the CNMI Bar Association to review and investigate Judge Kenneth L. Gavendo's in-court comments made in criminal case number 24-0028, as said comments undermine public confidence in the judiciary's impartiality and reflect a personal bias that was unbecoming of a member of the CNMI judiciary, pre-filed by myself and several others. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, floor leader. House Resolution 24-4, as long as 3 will be both. Have nothing under House Joint Resolution. Under House Commemorative Resolution, I recognize.
I'd like to use Resolution 20-1 to recognize and commend Dr. David Brahman and Dr. Elizabeth Cohen for their exemplary service for selfless dedication to the mission in the CNMI, refiled by myself and co-sponsored by several.
Representative Boyata, would it be the author that we introduce this as a committee? Let the record reflect now that. Next, we move down to House Concurrent Resolution, and I recognize Representative.
Mr. Speaker, formally introducing House Concurrent Resolution number 20, Revenues and Resources of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, identified pursuant to Article 3, Section 9 for fiscal year 2025.
Objection to the committee of.
No
objection. No objection. Okay, let the record reflect. It's now introduced by the committee of the whole. Colleagues, I will be placed on action today for the resolution calendar. And colleagues, due to the urgency of the matter regarding the revised budget, I would like to skip the other items of the agenda and go directly to the resolution calendar to first act on House Concurrent Resolution 24-1. And afterwards, we'll proceed to the bill calendar to act on House Bill 24-6. And after that, we will go back and proceed with the, good with that?
Yeah, no objection.
No objection. Thank you. So we'll now move down to item number 15, resolution calendar. Thank you, colleagues. We are now under item number 15, the resolution calendar, and I'd like to recognize the floor leader, 24-1 floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I move for the adoption of House Concurrent Resolution number 24-1, a House Concurrent Resolution to approve revenue and resources of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands as identified pursuant to Article 3, Section 9A of the Constitution, as amended, and with 1 CMC Division 7 for fiscal year 2025, beginning October 1st, 2024, and ending on September 30, 2025. So moved.
Thank you, Floor Leader. A motion has been made for the adoption of House Concurrent Resolution 24-1, and it has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? Ready? Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Bata?
Yes.
Representative Baldon?
Yes.
Representative Aquino?
Yes.
Representative Pato?
Yes.
Representative Benavente? Representative Angelo Camacho? Representative Diego Camacho?
Yes.
Representative Joel Camacho?
Good.
Representative Joseph Flores?
Yes.
Representative Marissa Flores?
Yes.
Representative Vogel?
Yes.
Representative Omar?
Good.
Representative Palacios?
Good.
Representative Nicolas?
Yes.
Representative Yankamay? Representative Yumo?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, all 17 members present voted yes.
Present voting yes, House Concurrent Resolution is hereby adopted. And with that, we'll now move down to item number 16, the bill calendar. I'd like to recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And before offering the motion for the passage on first and final reading, I move to suspend and Rule 9, Section 9 and 10. So moved.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made by the floor leader for the suspension 7, Section 9 and Rule 9, Section 10. It has been seconded. Any questions on the floor? Ready? Okay, all in favor for the motion offered by the floor leader?
Ready?
Ready? You had your hand up, Representative San Nicolas? No, this is for the motion made for the suspension.
Yes.
Recognizing you. Quick recess. Okay, we'll rise back from recess. Before we went on recess, a motion was offered by the floor leader to suspend Rule 7, Section 9 and Rule 9, Sections 9 and 10, and it was seconded. And the floor is still open for discussions. Any discussions? Ready? All right, all in favor for the motion offered by the floor leader, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I now move for the passage on first and final reading on House Bill 23-6 to amend the Appropriations and Budget Authority Act of fiscal year 2025, Public Law 23-26, to appropriate the balance of funds allocated for the minimum annual payment to the settlement fund and to return government employees subject to austerity to 100% work hours and for other purposes. So moved.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made for the passage of House Bill 24-6 on first and final. Seconded. Any discussions? Ready? We're all ready?
Recess.
Okay, quick recess. Colleagues, we're ready. Back to session. Thank you, colleagues. Before we went on recess, the floor was open for discussion under the motion for the passage of House Bill 24-6. So floor is open for discussion.
Recognize, Mr.
Yeah, recognize Representative Patrick San Nicolas.
Mr. Speaker and colleagues, I want to offer an amendment for House Bill 24-6. Page 8, line 10, is to insert the funds appropriated under ORG 1188-1100, 300,000. Shall be reserved for travel and lodging accommodation within the cinema for the student participating in the PSS interscholastic sports, leagues, and academic competition for school year 24-25, provided further that the expenditure authority shall provide a detailed expense report in writing to the presiding officers of the legislature, the chairperson of the House Standing Committee of Ways and Means, and the chairperson of the Senate Standing Committee of Fiscal Affairs within 30 days after the end of fiscal year 2025. So I move this motion for an amendment, Mr. Speaker. If there's no objection, okay.
Thank you, Representative San Nicolas. Motion, a floor amendment has been offered by Representative San Nicolas in the form of draft, House Draft 1, and it has been seconded. Any discussions? Recognize Representative Yumo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do approve or I support the amendment. However, a meeting that we had a couple of days ago with the Commissioner of PSS, the amount of 600,000 was supposed to be returned back. So what happened to the over 325,000 that was, or 600,000 that was originally given to NMC, and now it's 300,000. So where did the over 325 dollars gone?
I recognize Representative Ato.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for that question, Rep. Yumo. That 300, I think it's $350,000 that's left, right? It'll revert back to PSS. Then this $300,000 doesn't go anywhere. It stays within PSS, provided that the interscholastic sports leagues and academic competitions that happen between the islands when there's travel needed and lodging for the students, that this $300,000 will be utilized for that. The remaining $350,000 will go to PSS for its functions.
Thank you, Chairman Hato. Does that mean well, because as per our meeting, PSS has appropriated those funds to fund certain, I believe it's, if I'm not mistaken, operations or personnel. So that would affect their current fiscal year budget if this one is going to go strictly to sports travel for sports and lodging. That's my only concern, Chairman. I have no objection to Rep. San Nicolas's amendment.
Thank you, Representative Yumo. Representative Ato.
And unless PSS has remitted some of that $650,000 to NMC already, then there's an issue there. But my understanding that there's no money that's been remitted to NMC yet. Therefore, the $650,000 is still whole at PSS. What we're saying here is that out of the $650,000 that's going to PSS, $300,000 will be utilized for the remainder of FY 24-25 for these competitions, because these are competitions created by PSS, should be obligated by PSS. We have a lot of our delegations, so it's the first, second, or third senatorial district, that have to fork out through their local appropriations to address programs that were created at PSS. Therefore, PSS should be forking out some of this money and obligating some of their funds towards these types of programs that they're creating themselves. The $350,000 that's open, that'll go back into their general obligations. They can use that as they so needed. But as for now, $300,000 will be utilized for the remainder of the fiscal year as per this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, Speaker. Sorry.
Thank you, Representative Fatal. Recognize Representative Aquino.
Thank you, Speaker. I have no objections, but I just also like to state for the record and to the general public that, as a former athlete myself, I like to see sports organizations like the schools and families come collectively together to do individual private fundraising, you know, rather than to just dish out a big chunk of change. Because I've seen like schools right now, they're doing car wash right in Shell gas stations. And we already know like the season for sports, they got ample time to start fundraising where they can minimize some of the overall cost associated with the expense for these sports games. That's all.
Thank you, Representative Aquino. Any further? Recognize Representative Yanktamay.
I would like to also include cultural competitions because that's what they're right now. They're doing these fundraisings for their cultural competition. I believe in Guam. Oh, but this one is within the CNMI, so I think they also go down to Rhoda and Tinian. So I would like to ask if that can be included in this one, not only the sports and academics for cultural preservation. Thank you.
Question on that.
Yeah.
Just point of clarification.
Recognize Representative Fatal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just point of clarification when in regards to the cultural, if it's a PSS program, then we can include it, and that shouldn't be a problem. But if it's outside of a PSS program, this is we're trying to get the money back to PSS. That $650,000. So if it's a PSS program, maybe you can offer a subsidiary motion to include it in this amendment. Then we can just move on from there.
Okay, thank you. Representative San Nicolas, did you have something to say? Okay, Representative Beneventi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With regards to the meeting a few days ago with the commissioner, we have highlighted that issue too with regards to the community and cultural type effort within the school system. And he's working, according to him, based on our conversation, he was working on it to try to make it as flexible as possible that he could do. And then in time, he will, in maybe a few weeks from now, he will do a presentation for the whole entire legislature over here in the House. So to give us the complete highlights of everything, what's going on at PSS. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Beneventi. Representative Yanktamay.
Sorry, was I supposed to offer a substitute for this? Okay, and see
Yeah,
council?
let's take a quick recess.
Okay,
Quick
thank you.
recess. to session. Before we went on recess, we were still under discussion under the amendment offered by Representative Patrick San Nicolas, and Representative Yanktamai had the floor. Representative Yanktamai, you're recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. I would like to offer a subsidiary motion to include after the word leagues on the floor amendment, after the word leagues, a comma, then cultural competitions, comma, and then the rest, and academic competitions. Thank you.
Thank you. Subsidiary motion has been offered by Representative Yanktamai, and it has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? Ready? All in favor for the subsidiary motion, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. We now move back to the floor amendment offered by Representative San Nicolas. Any further discussions? Recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And while I commend the amendments made by our representative from Tinian and the inclusion of language made by a representative from Precinct 3, I would be remiss to say that I wish these budgets can be piecemeals, but it can't. And so I want to thank those responsible for crafting this piece, as we know that the governor needs this so that he can bring those in the executive branch up to 100 hours and removing the austerity that was in place last fiscal year. Sorry. So thank you, Rep. San Nicolas. I love my having my speaker around because then he keeps me in check here. So it's a very commendable amendment. And yes, students first is always important. And thank you, Rep. Danita, for including native and cultural practices and competitions. Our students are very much involved and love their culture very much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield.
Thank you, floor leader. Floor is still open for discussions. Ready? Ready? All right. All in favor of the amendment offered by Representative San Nicolas as amended by the subsidiary motion, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. We now move back to the main motion, the motion to pass House Bill 24-6 HD1. Floor is still open for discussion. Recognize floor leader.
This is the right time now for me to make my comments, and I'll go back again. And I do know, and the sentiment of the 24th legislature is that this is time sensitive, and that the governor does need this revised budget passed to bring back the executive branch to full austerity, removing austerity and full 100% work hours. I'd like to commend those who negotiated this budget proposal. It's not an easy job, and I'd like to, in light of the chairman, Rep. Sablan, being gone off island for family reasons, I'd like to thank the vice chairman for advocating strongly and negotiating terms in this bicameral legislature. Although I have reservations, it's unfortunate that I cannot vote on this budget in peace and pieces. But I need to make it very clear that we cannot hold anyone hostage because of this. And this must be passed for its urgency for all of us. However, I would like to make it clear that the lines of communication should always be open in all branches. So I would hope that the executive branch would be more in tune to keeping us abreast on such actions before the fact. And I say that in light of his authority to exercise his executive orders. But when there is an imbalance, then there's an injustice. So with that said, I would once again like to thank Rep. Atal for once again negotiating a bill for all people, regardless of the sacrifices that many of us will be making, especially those that are listed. Thank you, Rep. Atal, for making yourself, again, available to negotiate these terms. And again, as I've mentioned to you, it's unfortunate that we cannot pass this in piecemeals. But today we have to vote because of its urgency for all people. Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Speaker. I yield.
Thank you, Floor Leader. The floor is still open for discussion. Going once. Representative, I recognize Representative Benavente.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I speak in tomorrow? Okay. Ti klaro dulu kinis tinabio. Honestly, ti klaro dulu. Safa ane matsogwis tinabio. Gini ni Senate mogi. Manafandanya todo. Malampalun. Ya tisinya ta bugbuk hujung tisinya ta bugbuk hujung. Hafaiji malagwit para taspota dan ti malagwit para taspota. Lo very unfortunate sa istigi na bill ne como titasogwi lokine. Como titasogwi man mamadisi sempi man empleado siya, empleado gobyerno. Ni man matsutsutsu. Dari nansya si Representative BJ donya ni asangan gi earlier gi alun. Naman mamadisi empleado ni man matsutsutsu sa sempi tumunok talo papa sweldo niya gi 72 hours. Man madisi siya familia. Todo doon eh. Sa mega empleado gobyerno man matsutsu para gobyerno. Gobernamento. Fera di ano. Lokwe, fera di ano ne, debi di taatan, klaro. Maano ne, gaigi mo si pressure da dinansi lokwe si Representative Marissa ni Representative Flores yafa sangan. Sa debi lokwe Senate di o comprende za o nagwahan ni balance. Instead of taudo sinya ta floor amendment ng ginsinya lo manafandanyas ti todo gi grupo ja manaholo. Pusistigi pago isabasyon niya sti nabio. Tauda pa masedi ni sti na tasutta ja at tapasag wini. Sa tibe sacrificial okay di siya na tautoy man matsutsutsu. Ni man matsutsu para gobyerno. Law tasota jay gobyerno ufatinas desisyon niya ko maano paro bito gina provision para ofa paro tsowe. Enoa sinya pago tsowe. Pues enoa Mr. Speaker. Lo bay register alo ni sinintik ko na ti klaro isti na biyo imatsugwen niya. Sama na fandan niya todo man mamix kun todo basula man na fanol. Si Jesus Masi.
Si Jesus Masi, Representative no Benavente. Floor is still open for discussion. Recognize Representative Aquino.
I too would like to share my same sentiment with Rep. Flores and Rep. Benavente, that a lot of these things for me is not clear. And right now, I just look at the overall picture of the government. I look at the legislative body as a separate but equal branch. And honestly, when I look, I hear like the governor just does like remote work. He approves remote work for somebody at the military affairs for to go to Guam and do remote work there. I see people running around, and it's like the concerns are always brought here about the lack of money. They need more. But then I see the waste that's out there. The people see it. So for me, I just don't know what exactly this whole thing is about. I'm only new. I just came in, but I can tell you right now that the people out there are just pretty pissed off. And I agree, there needs to be more transparency as to what, who, what, when, where, why, the 5 Ws. Who's it going to benefit? Why is it going to be done? I just don't want like a something that's going to be rammed here at the urgency. I think there needs to be more discussions. We need to be more involved. Minorities, there's in these committees also. I attended and I just listened. They increased the amount of members in the committees for like Ways and Means. There's 15, but majority are the majority that are in there. There's not an equal representation, I think, that we have also our opinions also. I just like to get more involved. I like to see more transparency right now from the executive branch and everybody involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Aquino. Any further under discussion? Recognize Representative Vincent S. Aldan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. And I even I am had doubts on this on getting this thing through. But at the end of the day, sacrifices have to be made, and wish on one hand and crap on another, and see which one you're gonna get first. But at the end of the day, that is where I'm begging and I'm asking for the public to educate themselves on understanding why we needed to pass this bill. When people out there are talking on a subject that they don't understand, it makes us look like we're the bad guys. And be it may, or it's that the sacrifices that have to be made, and the horse pill that we were forced to swallow because somebody is playing politics. That's the things that we as legislators and representatives have to do, as much as we don't want to do it because it's not benefiting the right agencies or the right people. We have to swallow horse pills for the betterment of the whole. And that is where the public have to educate themselves, so that they can understand what is it that we go through in order to fix the whole. Yes, we might have, one or two bad apples, doesn't mean you're going to throw away the whole bucket. But sooner or later, the public has to make a decision on their representative, who is actually doing something that is right for everyone and not play politics. And yes, the public, you will be pissed off when you realize what is in this budget. Believe me, you will. But we have to do it. We have to make amends, and we just had to make a deal. And here we are. As much as I don't want to support it, I have to, because we need it for the whole. But at the same time, educate yourself, understand what's on the bill, and why we had to support it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Aldan. The floor is still open for discussions. Ready? We good? Representative Ato, you good? All right, and with that, if we're all ready, I recognize the clerk to please call the roll on the passage of House Bill number 24-6, House Draft 1. Clerk.
Representative Adat?
Yes.
Representative Aldan?
Yes.
Representative Aquino?
I'll just say yes for now. Yes.
Representative Patel,
Yes.
Representative Benavente, Representative Angelo Camacho,
Yes.
Representative Diego Camacho, Representative Joel Camacho,
Ungan.
Representative Joseph Flores,
Yes.
Representative Marissa Flores, Representative Vogel,
Yes.
Representative Omar,
Hungan.
Representative Palacios,
Ngan.
Representative Nicolas,
Yes.
Representative Yang Tamay,
Aware.
Representative Yumo, Representative Diego Camacho,
Yes.
Representative Marissa Flores,
No.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, 16 members voted yes and 1 member voted no.
Thank you, Clerk. With 16 voting in favor, House Bill 24-6, House Draft 1 hereby passes the House. Thank you, colleagues. We'll take a quick recess for the clerk to prepare the transmittal. Quick recess. And rise back to session. Before we went on recess, we were under the bill calendar and we passed House Bill 24-6, House Draft 1. And as discussed earlier, after that we will be moving back to where we were in the agenda. So now we're on item number 6, messages from the governor. And I recognize the clerk.
Thank you, Clerk. Messages from the governor, we have Government Communication 24-1 through 24-10.
Thank you, clerk. Any discussions under messages from the governor?
Recognize, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize Representative Patrick St. Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to thank the governor for signing House Local Bill 23-71 D1 to appropriate 18,000 from revenues collected from poker fees in the second senatorial district and for other purposes, and it became Tina Local Law 23-21. If I may continue, Mr. Speaker, thank you to the governor also for signing to House Local Bill 23-54 D1 to impose a 0.5% ad valorem local excess surtax for the privilege of imposing construction materials from the outside the Commonwealth by licensed construction contractors in the second senatorial district, and it became Tinan Local Law 23-22. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative San Nicolas. Any further under governor messages from the governor? Ready? All right, we'll move down to item number 7, Senate Communications, and I recognize the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under item 7, Senate Communications, we have 2 items, Senate Communication 24-1 and 24-2.
Thank you, clerk. And with that, I'd like to recognize the floor leader for the motion to accept Senate Communications. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House accept Senate Communications 24-1 and 2 to become the property of the House. So move.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made to accept Senate Communications 24-1 and 24-2, and it has been seconded. Any discussions on the floor? Ready? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, colleagues. With no further discussions, we now move down to item number 8, House Communications, and I recognize the clerk.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Under item 8, House Communications, we have House Communications 24-1 through 24-14.
Thank you, clerk. Any discussions under House Communication? Recognize Representative Joel Camacho.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to ask for some clarity under House Communication. This is in reference to House Communication 24-10 and the proposed rules for the House. I know that there are pending amendments to raise the level of membership for each respective committees. I'm just wondering if it's possible that we can start appointing members now, or should we wait until the rules have been adopted by the House?
Thank you. Thank you. And my understanding is until the rules are officially adopted, that's when you can add the members. As for now, though, if you feel that you should call a committee meeting, you're pretty much ready for business to go ahead and conduct JGO business.
All right. Thank you for that clarification.
When the rules pass, that's when you can add more members.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more discussions under House Communications? Ready? All right. We now move down to item number 9, communications from the judicial branch, and we have none. Item number 10, communications from departments and agencies, and I recognize the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under item 10, communications from departments and agencies, we have several. Department Communications 24-1 through 24-4.
Thank you, clerk. Any discussions under communications from departments and agencies? Ready? All right. For Department and Agency Communication 24-1 will be referred to the Committee on Natural Resources, and Department and Agency Communication 24-4 as well will be referred to the Committee on Natural Resources. All right, with nothing further, we move down to miscellaneous communications. Clerk?
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Under item 11, miscellaneous communications, we have several. Miscellaneous communications 24-1 through 24-9.
Thank you, Clerk. Any discussions under miscellaneous communications? Ready? All right. For miscellaneous communication, just for reference purposes, 24-6, we refer to Ways and Means. And with nothing further, we move down to item number 12, reports of standing committees. We have none. Item number 13, reports of special and conference committees. We have none. Item number 14, unfinished business. We have none. We now move down back to item number 15, resolution calendar, and I recognize the floor leader. You want to recess?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of House Resolution 24-3, a House resolution expressing profound gratitude to Paul Atalik Maglonia, his wife Lydia Manabusan Maglonia, and their children Deanna, Paul Jr., Den, Pauline, Maria, and Amalia, for unselfishly sharing their husband and father with the people of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands and extending best wishes to him and his family on the occasion of his retirement. So move.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made for the adoption of House Resolution 24-3, and it has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready? All in favor to adopt, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Resolution 24-3 is hereby adopted. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of House Resolution 24-4, a House resolution objecting to the acquittal of Shane Blanco Villanueva on charges of legislative contempt, urging the CNMI Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney to investigate and prosecute any and all CNMI and federal crimes related to the BOOST program, condemning the demonstrated bias against CNMI Assistant Attorney General James Kingman, denouncing the denial of due process with respect to the Commonwealth's ability to effectively prosecute its case, and urging the judiciary and the CNMI Bar Association to review and investigate Judge Kenneth L. Gavendo's in-court comments made in criminal case number 24-0028, as said comments undermine public confidence in the judiciary's impartiality and reflect a personal bias that was unbecoming of a member of the CNMI judiciary. So move.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made for the adoption of House Resolution 24-4, and it has been seconded. Any discussions? I recognize Representative Roy Adda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just stating my opinion for the record, I am opposing the House Resolution 24-4. I think that the legislative body had already exercised their right to conduct the investigation and move forward with the case against Shane Villanueva of legislative contempt. It was already brought before the court and was heard. And in that case, I feel that it is not in the public interest at this time for such actions and resources to be given for this resolution. I know that these are statements by the body, the investigating committee in the legislature that had gone through the proceedings, and so be it. But I feel that the case has already been heard. The judge had rendered a decision, and I feel like we should just respect the judicial branch's decision on the matter. So for that, I would like to just state for the record that I would be opposing and voting nay on this House resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Roy Adda. Recognize Representative Aquino.
Thank you, Speaker. I too will be voting nay on this. I share my colleagues' sentiments that while this thing happened prior to me coming on board, that the court has already adjudicated this thing. It's up to the AG now what they want to do. But I feel that so much money, time, and exposure has been done on this particular case. But if we're going to go forward with everything that happens out of the court, I think we're going to be wasting a lot of time. I think, and I respect the Rep. Flores's resolution and everyone that supported it. However, I think that again, I go back to the theory that we have three separate but equal branches, and there's other people that are in that boosting, but we're just like singling out main people for this program. If we're going to go after everybody, then the AG or everybody needs to go everyone collectively as a whole rather than select individuals. It's already been more than 2 years. There's been no convictions to date. There's been a lot of money spent, I'm pretty sure, from the AG side on this thing. And we're talking about budget. We're talking about government shortfall. At what point, as stewards of the public funds, are we going to keep on going into this thing? For every case, are we going to keep on doing this? Are we going to keep investing time, money, effort to try to get a conviction? So when does it end? And I just think that we have other things to focus on, like how to generate revenue. And I think that the courts have already spoken, and I respect the court's decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Aquino. The floor is still open for discussions. Recognize Representative Ralph Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am supporting the resolution. It's true we are equal branches, but the courts also have to determine. I know they made a decision. We respect that, and that's final. But the courts also have to define the difference between contempt of court versus contempt of legislature. So what the court did to the committee is it tied our hands. So that means we can't investigate anymore because everyone have seen what happened, and that's not fair. It is equal branches. They should respect our rules. With regards to the acquittal, that's all up to the judge, and he made his ruling on that. We respect that, but I don't believe they went over in details as to what is contempt of the legislature, and that's what needs to be defined, and it's very important because it's interfering with our powers to investigate. So if we do plan to investigate anyone, they're already gonna say no, right? So that I don't think that's fair. They need to go back, and that's why I'm supporting this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Yumo. Floor is still open for discussions. Recognize Representative Attal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I like Rep. Humo in support of this resolution because the whole issue here is the contempt of the legislative process, and I believe that the decision was in that proceedings in the judicial branch. Although I respect the decision of Judge Govendo and during that hearing, but it seemed more like a criminal case in regards to stealing, and it wasn't. Shane Villanueva wasn't handpicked out of the individual. Shane Villanueva's name popped up towards the end of the original investigation in the 22nd legislature. That's the reason why Shane Villanueva was called in, and his name popped up from Bank of Saipan as the person reviewing the fisheries farmers and ranchers program. So it wasn't that Shane Villanueva was handpicked. There's a list of individuals that were going to be brought in and questioned regarding the boost program. I know that one of the arguments in court was that that we cannot appropriate federal or the ARPA monies, but there's legislations that were produced to allow the legislative body to be a part of that appropriating authority. But what they didn't answer that in that specific question is if we misspent federal money at the end of the day, it's going to be the central government that's going to have to pay back those monies to the federal government. And this body is going to be obligated to find the money to pay back the federal government. So if you're going to strip away our authority in regards to contempt, and Rep. Yumo's right, any future investigation when they're misspending funds or there's some type of corruptions within the government, nobody's going to respect the legislative branch and its authority to investigate how monies are being spent. There's not going to be a true transparency for this legislative body. We might as well call ourselves just a body, because we're not going to be a true equal branch of any part of the government. This decision, in my opinion, kind of strips our authority in regards to pursuing a contempt case in the legislative process. So if the title reflects that it's in an individual or a specific judge, it's not. It's really talking about our authority in investigating individuals or entities within our government and how they spend money. If we don't at least hold that part on our end, then we might as well not be introducing legislations or even the budget for that matter. Why don't we just give it to the administration, let them decide how the money's going to be spent, and move on? Skip this branch of government because we seem to not exist with any authority. So this resolution is at the very least gonna show that this branch is doing something to make sure that our abilities to investigate and our speaker's authority through our rules to push for contempt of an investigative body within this branch is there, and it's acceptable outside of the legislative branch. Unfortunately, we're not going to be the ones that are going to hear their case. We investigate, we held them in contempt, we send it to the AG's office, then it goes out, it goes to the court system. If there's anything, it's this body's authority to investigate and hold anybody in contempt that has to go through all the other branches of government just to get to that point. So what authority do we have as a body if this the decision that was rendered kind of strips our authority, our ability to hold people in contempt? They're not gonna respect this body. There's not gonna be any belief in strength. Like Rep. Yumo said, people are not gonna come up here and enter or come in here to answer questions from this body, because now it seems like we're not holding any water. But I think it needs to be clear of the decision made by the courts of what is the authority of a legislative contempt and a judicial contempt, because we weren't investigating Shane Villanueva or any of the other individuals that were a part of the Boost program. We were investigating the Boost program, not the individual. And it seemed that a decision was rendered based on an individual. It wasn't the individual. The overall picture is about the Boost case. And I think that we should support this resolution for the fact that there's respect for this body. And if the members are not going to, I respect your vote if you're not going to support the resolution, but you're also giving up the authority of this body to be able to be a part of the equal branch of the government of the CNMI. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Fattah. Floor is still open. Recognize Representative Patrickson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is I respect our good floor leader, of her resolution on this, but for me, this is an intrusion of the executive authority, urging the CNMI Attorney General to investigate the former Boost programs implies to a directive to the executive branch, which must remain free to exercise its prosecutorial discretion without legislative interference. And the other thing is the interference with the judicial independence calls to investigate a sitting judges. Comments during a trial undermine judicial independence. Judges must be free. Judges must be free to perform their duties without undue influence from the legislature branch. This is equal power of equal branch. in our government. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'm not voting for this resolution. With that, I yield.
Thank you, Representative Nicolas. Representative Aquino, you rose here. Representative Aldan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support that resolution. And just to make clear, no, yes, we are all equal branches of government, but the legislature, under the Constitution, we have the power, one of our powers is to conduct oversight. Okay? We have the power of the purse to control that purse to make sure that it doesn't get squandered. Right? Now, we also have the power to oversight to make sure that we can investigate those funds to make sure that it's going to where the purpose of those funds were collected to begin with. Now, let me just read something. Lawmakers' unique power and responsibility to conduct legislative oversight. Our constitutional system grants Congress and the 50 state legislatures a unique power to conduct far-reaching public investigation into important issues and, when necessary, to compel people to share documents and provide testimonies. Lawmakers examine a sweeping array of societal concerns, which is majority of the time, it's always about the money. Okay? Existing government programs, boost, private sector abuse. Whoever it is that was contracted to do that is a private sector, right? Disasters, crisis, scandals. Armed with facts gained from legislative oversight, can establish new or improve existing government programs, better allocate taxpayer dollars, address abuses, and provide needed checks and balances across the government. That is the purpose of oversight. It has nothing to do because of one individual. It's what that individual did with that taxpayer money. And it is our job as lawmakers to conduct oversight, whether we like it or not. And to any individual that is playing around with taxpayer dollars. It's not the individual. It's about where are the taxpayer dollar being spent and how it is being spent. And for somebody to say that, oh, no, you shouldn't, no, we have every right. We have every right to question everybody. We have the right to question the governor. We have the right to question, the judiciary branch. That is the power of being in the legislature. So I do support this resolution, and I highly recommend. I'm not a constitutional lawyer by no means, but I do read my responsibilities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Aldan. Representative Aquino.
Thank you for, your comments, but like I said, everyone is afforded their Fifth Amendment right. That's their constitutional right. Whether they want to answer your questions, whether they don't want to answer your questions, that is their right. From here, it went to the court. The court adjudicated. This is no different than what happened in the United States with those people that were sent to prison for not answering the questions while they pled their Fifth Amendment right. It's no different. Peter Navarro went to jail. There's others that went to jail. But if a person exercises his Fifth Amendment right, that is his God-given right. That's what I'm saying. It's been adjudicated. The court already gave their own ruling. It's time for us to respect that ruling. If the AG is going to pursue this, then I don't think he needs us to do it. The AG for himself has common sense. If he doesn't want to accept the loss, then he's going to file an appeal or he's going to go after and refer to the FBI. But I think as far as our job, it's already been done. We've already rendered our jobs, and the people cannot say that we neglected to do our job. With respect to taxpayer funds, this is federal money. And if we're going to look at other things, then we should also look at every single thing where federal monies that are given to local government programs are being spent. I agree with Congressman O'Donnell. We should look and have oversight to every little thing. The 55 people that went to Hawaii, no one here, I was from the executive branch. I know what was being said. 55 people went under the grants funding, indirect costs. The governor made it clear, when you guys come back, you have to write grants. Did we have oversight? How many people wrote grants? How much was spent? It was over 200,000. What was benefited out of it? A free trip, shopping. Are we going to investigate that? I'm just saying, guys, at what point do we say, man, let's cut our losses, and let's move on to the next one? But to just criticize the courts, I don't think that's good, and it's not right. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Aquino. Floor is still open. Floor leader.
Thank you. And this is the beauty of where we sit. We can debate on issues that are critical to the needs of the public, but also critical to our powers as legislative elected officials. But for the record, for those who weren't there, for those who don't understand why this resolution is now in place, Mr. Speaker, if there's no objection, I would like to play the audio that was actually said in court so that everybody can hear it for the record.
I have no objection. Proceed.
Thank you. And this was the day of the court.
Please be seated. Today is January 29th, 2025, and this is the afternoon calendar. And this is criminal case 240028, CNMI versus Shane Blanco Villanueva. All right, good afternoon, gentlemen. First of all, I would like to compliment both councils. We've had a lot of spirited discussions, some interesting issues regarding the law, well argued, and my hat is off to both councils for being up to date on the law and advising the court of what their opinion is of the law. So my compliments to both of you, to all counsel. Hoffman versus the United States is a case cited by both counsels regarding using the Fifth Amendment. In Hoffman versus the United States, the U.S. Supreme Court reversed the defendant's conviction, holding that under all of the circumstances, defendant had a reasonable concern that answering the questions might subject him to federal criminal liability, and defendant was therefore entitled to the protection afforded by the Fifth Amendment against testimonial self-incrimination and shall not have been held in contempt for failing to answer. That's the Hoffman case. In this case, Mr. Villanueva appeared in front of the legislature on February 20th thinking that there was going to be a hearing, and it was postponed or canceled or put off to another time. And later that afternoon, he was told by his attorney for the first time that he was under criminal investigation. That was his testimony, and I believe him when he said that was the first time that he heard about it. Contrary to what Mr. Kingman said about he should have known he was being investigated by everyone. I find that to be exceptionally arrogant along with a lot of other things that Mr. Kingman testified to. Because of that, his attorney advised him to plead the fifth. And he did. He answered a couple questions and then pled the Fifth Amendment. His attorney was there with him at that legislative hearing. I find that the defendant was alarmed and scared at the time that he was at that legislative hearing that he was going to be prosecuted for something. Although his attorney didn't tell him what it was going to be, because he probably didn't know what it was going to be. The way you find out that you're going to be prosecuted is that an information is filed, just like it was in this case, saying he's being prosecuted for contempt of the legislature. But no information had been filed. So his attorney couldn't tell him what it was, but it was enough to frighten Mr. Villanueva to the point where he pled the Fifth Amendment. Was that reasonable? Well, the prosecution thinks no. He still should have answered some questions. But when somebody is put in that position and they're advised by their attorney that they're going to be prosecuted for something, you can't blame them for being a little bit scared, wary, and the attorney says plead the fifth. And that's exactly what Mr. Villanueva did. He exercised his right to plead the Fifth Amendment. And for that reason, I find Mr. Villanueva not guilty of contempt of the legislature. Now, let me add a few other things to this, because we've gotten into a lot of things. The defense, one of the things the defense was arguing is that the legislature had no right to do any of this stuff that they were doing. Wrong. The legislature had every right to do that, and Mr. Villanueva, no doubt, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that this legislature that's in session right now is going to call you again. I have no doubt about it. None whatsoever. Although I don't have any information, it's just common sense to me. So bring your attorney with you the next time, and when you're asked certain questions, if it's not going to affect your criminal liability, answer the questions. Answer the questions. Otherwise, you're going to go through this whole thing again and again and again. And we've all got better things to do than to have contempt of the legislature charges in this court. This is the first one that I know of. This is the first time, and I've been a judge now for almost 22 years, that the whole Fifth Amendment has come up as a defense. It's just not something that happens all the time. Because usually in a criminal case, the defendant is not required to testify. And most criminal defendants do not testify. And the burden is on the prosecution. When there's a jury, the jury is told, just because the defendant did not testify, he exercised his right not to testify, and therefore you, members of the jury, cannot hold it against the defendant. So that's basic criminal law that I think we all should be aware of. I find Mr. Kingman to be a liability to this government. He is arrogant. He thinks he's omnipotent. And maybe it's time for him to head back to Texas. But I want to point out, once again, to defense counsel that if he's subpoenaed in front of the legislature again, there better be more forthcoming from him. Otherwise, I don't know if it's going to end up before me or another judge, but it might not end up in a not guilty verdict. Do you follow what I'm saying? All right.
Thank you, colleagues, for just allowing that voice audio transcript. Now, the case was open to the public, but it wasn't open to the legislators. We were there. We were told to not be present in there. And we weren't sure why, but we respected the court. The question now, as I will say, I'm not going to pose a question, but I would have to support this bill. And I would like to thank my colleagues, Representative Yumo and Representative Atto, for eloquently stating the reason and the importance of this resolution. Now, do I think it's okay for a sitting judge to make such slanderous remarks and racist remarks? Absolutely not. And that is part of this resolution. Now, just like a budget, right? We can't vote in part, nor we can vote for this resolution in part. But that does not represent the judicial branch. They have canon laws that they are to abide to, and that is one of them. To uphold that, your place in that bench in a respectful and in a manner that is upholding of such a prestigious seat. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I hope and I ask my colleagues to please support this resolution, because at the end of any day, this will now determine, after us, we're all here on borrowed time. So if anybody out there might have a child that's going to run for political office or what is the standard that you're setting for this branch? This branch is just as important and just as responsible. And we have an obligation. So Rep. Atao and Rep. Yumo, thank you so much for indulging us. And you are correct. And I stand with you in support of this bill, support of this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield my time.
Thank you, Floor Leader, Representative Roy Adat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the audio, Floor Leader. I'd like to move to end debate and go on a roll call vote. Thank you.
All right, any objection to that? No objection. Any further discussion? I'll do last two discussions and then we'll go ahead and proceed for the vote. Representative Benavente, then
Point of order,
Representative.
Mr. Speaker. Point of order, I think we already decided to vote.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Thank you for that. I apologize, Rep. Aquino and Rep. Benavente. Yeah, we had no objection to end debate. So debate's closed and you're calling for roll, and we had no objection to that. So clerk, please call the roll for House Resolution 24-4.
Representative Adda,
Nay.
Representative Odon,
Yes.
Representative Aquino,
Nay.
Representative Atao,
Yes.
Representative Benavente,
Ungan.
Representative Komatsu, Angelo Komatsu, Representative Diego Komatsu, Representative Joel Komatsu,
Okay.
Representative Joseph Flores,
Yes.
Representative Marissa Flores,
Yes.
Representative Ogo,
Yes.
Representative Omar,
Ungan.
Representative Palacios,
Ungan.
Representative San Nicolas,
He,
Representative Yanktamai,
Awar.
Representative Yomo. Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, we have 14 yes and 3 no.
Thank you, Clerk. With 14 in favor, House Resolution number 24-4 is hereby adopted. Thank you. Floor Leader.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I move for the adoption of commemorative resolution number 24-1, a House commemorative resolution to recognize and commend Dr. David S. Grauman and Dr. Elizabeth A. Conan for their exemplary service and selfless dedication to the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation in the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. So move.
Thank you, Floor Leader. A motion has been made for the adoption of commemorative resolution 24-1, and it has been seconded. Any discussions?
Ready.
Ready? All in favor to adopt, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, colleagues. We are now done with the resolution calendar and the bill calendar. We now move down to item number 17, miscellaneous business, and the floor is open for discussions. Recognize Representative Roman Beneventi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With regards to the arguments, or not the arguments, but regards to the resolution that was highlighted by Ms. Marissa Flores, regards to the court's behavior or the judge's behavior in court. I'm not concerned basically of what really transpired. I'm just concerned of the powers and duties of the three branches of government, with the executive, judicial, and the legislative. What the judicial did was trying to infringe their authority into our turf, and I don't think that's the way it's supposed to be, because they try to tell us what to do and what not to do. And that's the main argument over here. It's a matter of protocol. It's a matter of powers and duties, and it's a matter of separations of power. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Beneventi. Representative Atto.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the members for supporting the concurrent resolution and the budget bill as it makes its way up to the Senate, and hopefully within an hour or so, it can make its way to the governor, so the governor can have the opportunity to review it and hopefully sign it into law, so we can move forward and avert some of the issues that we may be facing should the budget have not been passed by this body or this branch of government. And to the members, it's a nice first session, very healthy debate, and it's great that we're already starting off in a very good mood right now with this debate. It's important that we do this. No, we leave it out here and we respect each other. So when we exit this chamber, the respect still and always will be there for each other. We're gonna be going home after this, hopefully, and wishing you and your families a happy Valentine's Day, and to the Bureau family, thank you guys. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you guys. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Atto. Representative Aquino.
I just want to thank everyone also. This is my first actual experience, and it was a lesson learned. I just wanted to add that the penalty for contempt of the legislature is $500 and 6 months in jail, or 6 months in jail. That's for our legal counsel. So $500 or 6 months in jail. Second, to answer the question why members of the legislature weren't allowed in, the reason was because you guys may be called in as potential witnesses for the prosecution. That's why. Other than that, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Aquino. Recognize the floor leader.
I can yield my time, Mr. Speaker, unless the members of the House would like to go before me. I can go last.
Okay. Anybody else under miscellaneous? Recognize Representative Aldan.
I know that we already like queued this, not a debate, but I just wanted to make it clear, Nate, it's because of, it's not so much as the individual that I'm concerned about. It's the taxpayer dollar. Because at the end of the day, nobody in the whole CNMI or in the world, for that matter, that are paying into this tax dollar should be squandered, because everybody, people sweat to earn that money, and the government takes it. And then when the government is sleeping with somebody or whatever it is that they're doing, and then they're misappropriating those funds, that is no way in any shape or form beneficial or fair to the people that are paying those dollars. That's that's all I'm trying to say. But we do have, when it's useless to even have an oversight when at the very beginning you're pleading the fifth. We didn't even present, or show the evidence that we've had. But we already know their game plan was that plead the fifth on everything. Okay, not even looking at the evidence yet. You're already complete. We ask you, what school you're going to or whatever. I plead the fifth. On advice of counsel, I plead the fifth. Those are not incriminating, but you're already going to plead the fifth. And we didn't even show the evidence yet. So can this investigation move forward? Yes, it can. And that way we can bring out all the evidence we have and actually show it to the public. And I know that not everybody, read or looked at all the evidence that was gathered, but if you see what was gathered, and I hope that everybody gets a chance to go get it and read it, because you're going to be question marking everything. It's ridiculous. That's all I'm saying. It is our due diligence in the legislature, especially, and as Congress, is to figure out where is the best way to appropriate these funds, and to investigate to make sure that when we do appropriate it and we give it to whatever agency or whatever branch, that it is being spent in the way that it should be spent. That's the reason why we appropriated the funds. Because at the end of the day, it is public money. And nobody should be self-enriching themselves, because we're, friends or whatever, and we have, under the table dealings. And when you look at that, when you look at the evidence, that's pretty much what's happening. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Aldan. Any further? Recognize Representative Ralph Yu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just want to air out, I guess, the passage of House Bill 24-6 under the communication of finance to the legislature. Apologize. Revenue shortfall, and I've been monitoring the shortfall, and the excise tax, which is the tax that we collect for any importation of goods, has decreased close to 50% shortfall. So it's a trend. I know the administration is doing its best to cut expenditures as far as what's allocated to them versus what the actual expenditure. So that they are curbing the amount being expended. Now, if the trend continues, then we're looking at close to 15 million maybe that will be lost by the third quarter. So that's something that we need to look at with the passage of House Bill 24-6. I hope the administration looks at um, the schedules carefully and make adjustments accordingly because the trend does not look too good for us moving forward. And I just want to point that out. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Yumo. Vice Speaker?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And going back to House Bill 24-6, I was poised to vote no initially. However, understanding the importance of the time sensitivity regarding restoration of 80 hours to government employees and funding the healthcare network program and to PSS. With that said, just for the record, the next time this comes to our table, I think it'd be more appropriate to refer it to committee for the next round, should there be fund balances. If it indeed was urgent, we have the authority to call for an emergency session if it was an emergency. But I guess the good outweighed the bad or the negative for something that we don't agree with, and that's pretty obvious. But just for the record, for the next, I won't support such immediate passage and should be referred to committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. Any further? Okay, Floor Leader?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, colleagues, and the people of the Commonwealth. In good conscience, I could not and I did not support the
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just very briefly, Rep. Aquino asked me for the penalties with respect to contempt, and I mistakenly gave him the wrong penalties, so I didn't want to start off this first session with the wrong legal opinion. So to correct my error and apologize to Rep. Aquino on the record, the penalty that he asked for that I incorrectly gave, so the right answer should be under 1307. A person guilty of contempt under this chapter shall, upon conviction, be fined not more than 1,000 or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. Thank you.
Take it to committee.
Thank you, Legal Counsel.
Because the livelihood of our
With
people
that, we now move down to item number 18, announcements. Any announcements?
and decided as a
Recognize Representative Makumo.
although I voted
Thank you,
no
Mr.
for the
Speaker.
record,
Just a quick announcement
cannot vote in part.
to the
But
people
because
and the
now as
families
public record,
of
I
Astero.
urge
They
the
celebrate
CNMI Commonwealth
the feast
to
of
look at the
the
budget
Our-Lady of Lourdes.
and go back to page 7.
Congratulations, guys. I know their feast is tomorrow at the shrine. So followed by
And if you get,
mass
and when you read it,
procession.
you will
So again,
understand
happy
why
fiesta to the people of Astero.
Thank you, Representative Omar. Recognize
our economy is collapsing
Representative Nicolas.
and we are at a historically low
Thank you,
rate.
Mr. Speaker. Wala po masusiri pa una weekend na.
Obligations such as
Papagi Islam din yan. Festivity of Pikal. Dan gimban yung korbizo panalo pa pa din patinaki. Bulan Tondi dan Tontuno siya pa
This
mabili.
pamphlet I'm holding is still $15,311.93
Saya wala orang, sekiranya mau. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
over 1 million
Thank you, Representative Nicolas.
people, businesses who have provided
Okay, ready for announcements? Ready further? Ready? All right, we now move to adjournment, and I recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hereby move to adjourn, subject to the call of the chair, so move.
The motion has been made for adjournment and has been seconded. Any discussions? Ready. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Session's hereby adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
We are elected to the office on a platform advocating for change, anti-corruption, accountability, and transparency. Our community has spoken, and these actions maintain the status quo our voters have condemned. I sincerely hope that the Commonwealth can forgive my vote of no, because I couldn't vote in part. But I trust that the executive branch will do its due diligence. I applaud the work of everyone involved in House Bill 24-6 to avoid austerity and guarantee a 40-hour work week to our government employees for the fiscal year 2025. Our people and our community are those in greatest need of our attention need our help. But I will not compromise my principles, and I will continue my commitment to the Commonwealth and the people to do what is right. I work for the people of the Commonwealth. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield my time.
Thank you, Floor Leader. And with nothing further, we now move down to item number 18. Quick recess. All right, we'll rise back from recess. Before we went on recess, we were about to enter